I want to show you today how I use a Kartra page section as a style guide to help me build faster when I'm working in the Kartra Builder. I have found after building as many pages as I've built for as long as I've been working in Kartra that picking a component and bringing it over and having to style it, change the font color, the size, change the H1 designation, each time it gets really tedious when I'm doing the same thing and choosing the same styling selection. So this is how I've done it, and I want you to do the same because it's super fun. So from the components area on the left-hand side of the menu in Kartra, you can bring over all of the components that you want, and we're going to style them. And we're not going to worry about where they belong because we'll show you that in a second. So we're going to look at headlines. Okay, we've got a headline. Let's pick a headline that's pretty straightforward and that fits our brand and that something that we would use. And for this one, let's pick and bring over this one. Gonna let me play today? Okay, we'll put it here. So now we've got this collaboration made easy line. Well, it doesn't need to be laid out. It doesn't need to be 2.3, and it doesn't need to be normal. I'd actually like this to be a true headline, and I would like it to be H1. So I'm going to change really everything in this area. So I'm going to change the text. I'm going to change the color. 2.3 is fine. And I want this to be an H1 designation. I'm going to do the same thing for what I would like to be an H2 designation. And we'll change this to Playfair and is my H2. And you can have these be whatever you want them to be. So it doesn't have to say this is my H1, but that helps me know exactly what it is when I go to grab it later. So in this example, I made this one yellow, and then I was like, ooh, yellow on white doesn't really give me good readability. So I wanted to make a second version of this, and I made it darker. So that's how I did that. And this guy, if you wanted to have like a standalone piece for this, you can. I deleted it because I don't need it. But you can run through all of these features in components and decide how you want those elements to present themselves every time you use them, or for the most part. So for example, let's pick a button. Let's pick this guy with the arrow on the left. Well, this button goes on the left every time I bring it over, and I don't want to spend my time customizing this button every single time. So if we go into edit and we make all of these customization changes, let's say I want this background to be this dark blue that I use. I want it to be centered, and I want it to have a shadow. So there's my button, and that's how I'm going to configure it every time I configure the button. You can see the pattern and the thought process that I'm going through here. I have brought over in components, I have also brought over lists, and I brought in this standard list. I changed to like a double chevron. I changed my fonts, and this is how I want my lists to appear. I don't want to change my little icons every time I make a list. Same thing with this guy. I brought him over. I used my logo in this little space here. You can do the same thing with any of these other components that you would like to use throughout your section. Other things you might want to think about when you're bringing things over are you going to use dividers? Well, let's make sure we use the same divider, the same weight, everything across the board. So if this one is going to be a dash divider, and I'm going to make it super thick, and we'll make it, oh, it looks like dots. That's fun. We'll keep that. But if you maybe wanted to use a different divider, so let's say for a divider, we're actually going to use something that you made custom. You would do that through components and images, and we're going to bring over an image. And let me find it. It's super buried. Technically an image that I made, and I want to use it as my divider in all the places. So I made it an image. I've added this as my fun divider. So think of like squigglies or things that are more on brand for you that you can use as your divider. But for me, I had to dig to the very bottom of my media library to find it, and I definitely don't want to do that every single time that I need a divider. So option. So as you work through the rest of the components that are here, you have things like countdown timers. If you wanted to make sure that you are using the same countdown timer, or at least the same like 2 styles of countdown timers without having to remember what you used it for or which one, pop it into the style guide and keep it in a really handy place. There's also things like accordion if you wanted to set your accordion so it would be the same every time. If you wanted to add a box to bring over the same style box. So let's say our box, if we're using a single box, is going to have a 2-lined border. And then its background is going to be transparent, and we're going to give it some rounded corners. So that then becomes the same box that we use all the time. And you can do this for all the different combinations of boxes. You can do this for really anything in components, anything that you're using again and again and again. And where this becomes a really powerful exercise is, let's say you're going through the builder and you're building a new section, and we're going to use a hero section, and we're going to pull something from the example bank. And okay, let's use this one. This will be our example sample here. So we brought this over. We've got our section right here. So now if I need a headline, well, instead of changing this landing page for mobile app every time, clone it in your guide, bring it up, drop it where it goes, and then change it. And there you go. Now we can delete this. Now you've got a text box. Great. We've got normal text. We'll bring this over. Here's our normal text. Great. Is your normal text centered? Is it set to the left? You can make those changes in your style guide so you're not adjusting them every time. And then for something like, I want a transparent background with a teal outline button, clone it, bring it up, pop it in. That background is not transparent like I thought it was. Anyways, so this allows you to, instead of changing everything 1,000 times, I quickly and easily made all of my changes right here in my style guide, and then was able to duplicate them and drag them where I needed to be. Now, this gets really powerful when we come over to this little blue gear on the far right-hand side, and we click this favorite section. And now we're going to save this section as a favorite, and it's going to upload. And every time you create a page and you want to go back to your style guide, you can come into sections, come into your favorites, and drag this and bring this over. Then when you're done working on the page and you don't need this style guide anymore because your page is beautiful, your page is on point, delete it, and it's gone. Because you've cloned all of the components, they are existing in the sections that they need to be in.